From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10, live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Ijoma Oyato.
Hello and welcome. Tonight, President Goodluck Jonathan addresses the nation on the centenary celebration, again condemns the Yobe school attack, commiserates with the families of the victims. Senate condemns killing of students in Federal Government College, Buluyadi, Yobe State, orders Chief of Army Staff to relocate to Borno. Two UK citizens, Michael Adebolajo and Michael Adebowale, found guilty of murder, bank long sentences. And Ukraine's ousted President Viktor Yanukovych placed on international wanted list, new cabinet due to be unveiled.
On business news tonight, the Bank of America downgrades the Naira-linked instruments as Nigeria's external reserves fall below psychological levels.
And on sports news tonight, Nigeria's national football team about to get a new look as the Nigeria Football Federation is set to unveil newly designed jerseys.
We begin tonight with the President's broadcast to the nation this evening. In his 25-minute message to the nation, the President told Nigerians that there is a need to be committed to the unity of the nation and imbibe the culture of patriotism for the country to move ahead. He also used the opportunity to condemn in very strong terms the killing of students in Government College in Yobe State, asking the families of the victims to be encouraged.
The coming national conference should not be about a few privileged persons dictating the terms of the date, but an opportunity for all Nigerians to take part in a comprehensive dialogue to further strengthen our union. I am hopeful that the conference will not result in parochial bargaining between competing regions, ethnic, religious, and other interest groups, but an objective dialogue about the way forward for our nation and how to ensure a more harmonious balance among our three tiers of government. My dear compatriots, as we celebrate our centenary, the security situation in some of our northeastern states sadly remains a major concern for us. Just yesterday, young students full of hopes and dreams for a great future were carelessly murdered as they slept in their college dormitories in Yobe State. I'm deeply saddened by this death and that of other Nigerians at the hands of terrorists. Our hearts go out to their parents and relatives, colleagues, and school authorities. We will continue to do everything possible to permanently eradicate the scourge of terrorism and insurgency from our country. We recognize that the root cause of militancy, terrorism, and insurgency is not the strength of extremist ideas, but corrupted values and ignorance. That is why our counter-terrorism strategy is not just about enforcing law and order, as we have equipped our security forces to do. It also involves expanding economic opportunities, social inclusion, education, and other measures that will help restore normalcy, not just in the short term, but permanently.
Nigeria's President, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan. In the meantime, we continue with the decision of the Senate Committee on Defense to prioritize the handling of the Borno killing over the Army's budget defense. The committee ordered the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Kenneth Minima, to relocate his office to Maiduguri for now and directed him to provide special security for all schools and health institutions in the crisis-prone states in the north. He had appeared before the Senate committee to defend the appropriation for the army in 2014. The issue of insurgency in the northeast has been of great concern to the governors of the area and indeed the president. Good luck, Jonathan.
It was meant to be a budget defense by the Nigerian army, but the Senate committee instead asked the Chief of Army Staff to return another day for that. He then threw up the attack of the Federal College in Buninyadi, Yobe State, ordering the Army Chief, Lieutenant General Kenneth Minima, to relocate to Maiduguri for a new state.
The committee condemns the atrocity being unleashed by the Boko Haram element on innocent citizens of the country, especially in the northeastern part of our great country. We regret what happened yesterday in the killing of innocent students in cold blood. The Committee on Defense and Army has by this issue a directive that the Chief of Army Staff take the following immediate and urgent actions. 1. Properly strategize on possible new ways of curbing these excesses. 2. Mobilize all available resources and face the insurgency directly, and then bring them to be on their knees. We heard of their planned relocation to Maiduguri, although we have not been informed, but we as a committee overseeing their activities on behalf of the Senate direct that your office be temporarily relocated to 7D in Maiduguri, and that you take urgent and appropriate steps to quell the situations. I want to reassure the committee that the Nigerian Army is up to the task. We know that in insurgencies like this, there are bound to be collateral damages by the insurgents. But the regular forces will, over time, and within the shortest possible time, twist the balance of this war against them, and they will be on their own. And indeed, will bring them to their knees.
The attack left several students dead, and when the governor of Borno visited and saw what was left of the school, the shock was very visible, and he called for more troops to be deployed to Yobe.
It was unfortunate that up to the 4-hour period or 5 hours of killings and massacre, there were no any security men around to contain the situation.
The state government confirms that 29 students died in the attack, but agency reports puts the death toll at over 49.
I wish to use this platform to renew my previous call to members of the sect to lay down their arms and engage government in a constructive manner in order to address their grievances.
Last year, over 40 students were also killed in an early morning raid at the College of Agriculture in Rigby, Yobe State.
Now, while the nation's battling with terrorism at home, a judge, Justice Sweeney, gave long sentences to 2 men for killings that have terrorist connections. Michael Adebolajo and Michael Adebowale, killers of a British soldier Lee Rigby, have received different sentences for their crime. Michael Adebolajo bags a whole life term, never to be released from jail, while Michael Adebowale gets 45 years, meaning the 22-year-old will be 67 before he is eligible for parole. Reading the sentence this evening, the judge said the men butchered Lee Rigby and went far beyond what was needed to murder him.
Michael Adebolajo and Michael Adebowale were found guilty of hacking British soldier Lee Rigby to death on December the 19th, but sentencing was delayed because the judge wanted to wait for a legal decision clarifying Britain's position on whole life sentences. Last week, the Court of Appeal ruled that domestic laws on whole life prison sentences were compatible with European human rights laws, disagreeing with the European Court judgment that led to a fierce debate on Britain's ties with Europe. This decision means Adebolajo and Adebowale could be jailed for life with no prospect of release.
Once we decided that the soldiers
Among the footage shown to jurors during the trial was a mobile phone video of Adebolajo with his hands covered in blood, attributing the attack to, quote, an eye for an eye.
Your life is at risk when you join the army.
The jury also watched footage of Adebolajo being interviewed by the police. In 2010, Adebolajo was detained by Kenyan police in Mombasa before being deported to the UK. He was accused of seeking training with the Al-Qaeda-linked militant group Al-Shabaab in Somalia.
Well, away from terrorism now, a look at the oil and gas industry. And the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative has disagreed with the NNPC that allegations of fraudulent crude oil transactions, as presented by a Swiss-based non-governmental organization, Bern's Declaration, are baseless. The executive secretary of the initiative, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, said her agency believes that the report by the foreign organization has some substance. She noted that the findings from the NATI audit carried out between 2009 and 2011 reveals a similar pattern with the report by the Bern's Declaration.
The report is false or founded as any.
This was the position of the NNPC at the first day of this investigative hearing. It's now the second day of this probe into the alleged connivance of the NNPC with Swiss oil dealers, which has led to the country losing billions of naira. The members of the House Committee had questions for officials of the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, especially on the $866 million under deliveries to the country.
Between 2009 and 2011, total loss to Nigeria due to underdelivery was 866 million, 189,632.47. That is the total loss to Nigeria in 2011. If I get you right. Did you discuss all these reports to the PP, NNPC?
Yes. NNPC says on the report, so NNPC has been given, and when the report is completed, the board opposes the NNPC is also part of the report. And some people have said in this form that the declaration's report is not true, it's misleading. In your opinion, you say that the report is misleading? Clearly, the report has some substance. I'm not saying it is 100% accurate, but this process say that the process that we need to also report in this company.
The Transparency Agency has also asked that the 445,000 barrels domestic allocation should be reviewed.
So we're not saying stop 400. So there's a need to review what is possible. This provides to our evidence and not to the future.
She also added that the federal government should consider privatizing the country's refineries. Nigerians will now have to wait for the report of this committee on what is another unfavorable focus on the country's oil sector. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
In part 2, after the break, the Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency threatens to shut down stations selling petrol above 97 naira per litre. That's in a moment. We join us again.